Pride and Duztyn Talking COMICS. We made it to episode 2.
We made it to episode 2!
And hopefully this one's better than the other episode 2. That's a Star Wars 2.
Yes.
Okay. Well, guys, we talked about Marvel in the last segment. We told you we were going to talk about DC this segment and stories that we suggest you read to maybe get into it. You'll probably notice a lot of our DC is Batman. Probably one of the top characters that we like in DC is Batman and his Batman and basically his whole crew, because he's got an awesome Rose Gallery, he's got an awesome Allies Gallery. He's awesome. He's the Batman.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
You go ahead and start. You've got more to talk about than I do.
Okay. I'll start with probably a lot of people's number one villain. He's usually top 5 anytime someone does a villain list. I say top 5, usually top 3. I'll go with the Joker, and I'll talk about Alan Moore's Batman the Killing Joke. The cool thing about the Joker is no one knows where he came from. No one knows his background. Even in The Dark Knight, a lot of people like that. Heath Ledger's Joker. He was okay. He was definitely off of the comic Joker a little. But a cool thing about him, no one knew where he came from. He even changed his story with his scars several times. Alan Moore here attempts to try to give a background to him, which is pretty cool. I actually like it. It has him as the Red Hood. It brings in that whole thing. And probably what I would say is the biggest thing, the coolest thing that I thought in this was he kidnaps James Gordon. But this is the messed up part. He basically paralyzes his daughter in the process. He shoots Barbara Gordon all up. Barbara Gordon, who we know is Batgirl, which leads to her becoming Oracle. So it's supposed to be like Alan Moore giving us a background for the Joker, but he also gives us another origin story in Oracle. And I gotta say, it's definitely one of the coolest comics I've read. If you know Alan Moore, you know, he'll probably say if anybody does anything with this, it's garbage, because he doesn't like when other people touch his stuff. But, kind of like another guy that was in this group. But, definitely check it out. It's really cool. And that's my first nomination, especially if you dug Dark Knight and you like the Joker.
I just want to add on really quick. The Killing Joke is my second favorite Batman comic of all time. And most people put that in their top 3. So, I'm going a different route. Dust here is going very classic Batman. I'm going to go more modernize a bit. A while back, a lot of people didn't like it, and a lot of them I didn't like either. DC decided they were going to do what Marvel's doing with their Ultimate series and the Marvel Now, and reboot their whole series. So, you know, people can get a fresh take on a lot of their stuff, and it's called the New 52. New 52. So, this is what I'm going to talk about. The first one is the relaunch of the Teen Titans. And I was a big fan of the Teen Titans growing up. I was a fan of them back when they were called Young Justice in the comic books. And then eventually they changed the name to Teen Titans. Actually, it was a different group, technically, if you want to get into it. But it became Teen Titans. And then we got a really cool TV show in the early 2000s called Teen Titans with Robin, Starfire, Cyborg, Beast Boy, and Raven? Raven. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I didn't know if I said Raven or not.
Yes, Raven was in it.
Okay. I didn't know if I already said her name or not. And it's a classic great show. Everyone loved it. It was amazing. And they actually took a lot of stuff straight from the Teen Titan comic book, which was awesome. So which made me even love the comic book even more. So if you do like it, you should check it out. Now here they're revamping it. They're giving a more modern look to them. They're changing it up a little bit. Beast Boy's not in the first few issues. He does finally appear in issue 4, which is the newest one. But it starts out originally as Superboy. And it has this classic origin of him basically being a clone of Lex Luthor. And
can you call him Superboy?
Technically not.
No, you shouldn't. Yeah, I just thought of that. We don't want to get sued, dude.
Yeah. Okay. So it's got him. It also has Tim Drake as Red Robin, but here it just goes by Robin. You have Wonder Girl, Cassie. They introduced this Black Mist character called what's her name? I'm actually blanking on it right now. But she's really interesting. She has the ability to like phase through stuff. Here we go.
Is she the version of Kitty Pryde?
Sort of. She's like a flying version of Kitty Pryde. You also have Kid Flash from the future. Kid Flash, so really Impulse. And finally, to end the team, you have this they're taking a new direction. It's a Latino gay character named Bunker who has the ability to create psionic bricks. So he bricks people in the face quite often. It's an interesting take. I think it's well written. I forget who's actually currently writing.
I'll tell you too. You can have the most ridiculous concept, but if the story is well written, it'll go. You'd be surprised. I mean, think about it. We're talking about a guy that dresses up as a bat, pretty much the whole time. But done right, it's awesome.
It's written by Scott Lobdell, and he's really, really good with a lot of the stuff that he writes. Again, if you like Teen Titans, you should check it out. You'll like it a lot too. So, passing the buck, back to Dust.
The next book I'm going to talk about, really like it. It's definitely in the top of anybody's list, and it's one of my favorite Batman stories, and it's Hush. And you can get the Absolute Hush, which is one book. You can get them in all kind. I have the 2 graphic novels, and a friend of mine really digs it because the art is by Jim Lee, and I mean,
Jim Lee is a god.
I wouldn't go that far, but he's a great artist. Jim Lee, actually, IGN, which apparently we regurgitate a lot from, they did a top Batman artist, and Jim Lee was at the top.
Yeah.
And there's no surprise there. I kind of figured it clicking on it because Jim Lee is awesome. Jeff Loeb wrote this, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of his stuff in DC I liked a lot. I know he had some tragedy happen, and his writing kind of nowadays it's hit or miss, but
Jeff Loeb is very hit or miss. Jeff Loeb has a lot of books that you'll read and you're like, this is amazing, I want to read everything this guy wrote, and then you'll pick up something else and you're like, no.
And just for an example, he wrote Ultimates 3. We talked about the Ultimate line in the last video. Check that out if you haven't, because it's awesome. But he wrote Ultimates 3, and a lot of people, after the first 2 being written by Millard, didn't like it.
Right.
But yeah, Hush, it's really cool. It gives a lot of backstory with Batman. You learn about a little bit of his childhood because there's a childhood friend in it, and you'll read it and you'll see. I don't want to give anything away. Spoilers. Well, no, he's introduced pretty early.
No, we just don't want to give any spoilers.
Yeah, I'm not trying to give spoilers away. But I will say the coolest thing in this, I liked a lot, was they rumored and hinted back at Jason Todd coming back. This was really where I remember first reading about, even talking about bringing him back, in the books, and apparently that got a lot of hits. A lot of people, hits, they really didn't get hits back then. But, in today's language, it would have been a lot of hits. A lot of people thought that was a cool idea. So, I would read it just for that. And I would read it, too, because it's one of Loeb's best books, I think. Jim Lee does the art. I can't, it's definitely cool. You can't go wrong with it. If you love Batman, or if you love the Batman movies and want to learn more about him in the comics, I definitely hit this up.
Yeah, and again, Hush is one of the top 5 best Batman books of all time. And I'm going to touch on a really quick mention. I mentioned that The Killing Joke is my second favorite. My first favorite is Death in the Family. And that's when Jason Todd dies. If you're not familiar, Jason Todd is the second Robin. And a lot of people didn't like him. They thought he was too risky, rumbustious. I don't know what the phrase is.
Yeah, he wasn't he wasn't like Dick Grayson.
No.
He was very different, and a lot of people, we read comics, people don't like different all the time.
No, Dick was very Boy Scout, and Jason went a completely different way with this. He would run into a room full of people with guns by himself, take them out by himself, and he was like, Batman, look at me, and he's like, quit being, you're gonna get shot one day, or beaten to death by a crowbar. And that's kind of what happened. So in Death in the Family, Jason Todd dies. Spoilers. So he was my favorite Robin. He's the Robin when I started reading Batman. He was the first one I picked up on. So I really felt an attachment to him. So when they brought him back as the Red Hood, side note, there was an animated movie you should check out called Under the Hood, which is amazing. You should check out all of DC and Marvel animated stuff. They're all great. So my second recommendation is Red Hood and the Outlaws. This is a great New 52 book. It covers basically Jason. My first one covered the third Robin, Tim Drake. This one covers the second, Jason Todd. And it's a really well put together book. Basically, Jason Todd teams up with Red Arrow, so you have Red Hood and Red Arrow, and Starfire, from popularly known as from the originally Teen Titans. And the three of them basically try not to destroy the world, but help it, and it doesn't exactly always go the way they plan. I like it. They're very, like, off the cusp. They do things out of the box. They're not traditional.
They're very not like any other superhero team.
Exactly. Where everyone else is like, we want to save the world. They're like, look, we're just passing through and we got stuck here and we don't want to die. They're really funny. I like it a lot. I strongly recommend it. And so that's going to lead us to our last pick.
Another Jeff Loeb book. This time the art was by Tim Sale. The Long Halloween. Batman The Long Halloween. I know we're getting kind of long in the tooth here, so I'm going to go through it real quick. It's definitely a callback to the detective roots of Batman. Like, a lot of people forget that. They just think vigilante and, you know, beating up crazy people like the Joker, but in the beginning, Batman was a detective. So this one is very... Oh, go ahead.
Batman, the book, was originally called Detective Comics.
So, if you really want to see, like, kind of the root of Batman, I definitely would hit this up. A couple things about it. I believe it introduces... Does it introduce Calendar Man?
Yeah. It's the first introduction of Calendar Man.
Yes.
Which is, like, I think, like, the only time he was ever actually good or
cool.
Yeah.
It also has a little origin with Two-Face, which, again, if you saw Dark Knight, you definitely want to check it out. And I was getting to that. It has the purple... Yeah, you want to find it in the book so we can show them? It has the purple outfit that's classic for Catwoman. And we'll show you as soon as Pride finds it. There it is right there. See? So, just check that out. So those are some of the interesting things with it. But, again, a lot of people are hit or miss on Loeb. His Batman stuff is really good. So I would definitely check that out. Check out all these books that we talked about. Check out the books we talked about last week. And we'll come at you with another video.
So tune in next week to catch us for episode 3. This is Brad and Duztyn
Talking Comics.
See you later, Batman.